Radio Zero.
It's Radio Zero with Rick and Rose, Friday, December 16th, 4:01 p.m. Graham, our son, mentioned me in a comment.
You can subscribe to the podcast on Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts, whatever your pod delivery format is. Also, you can go to radiozero.us. We've got the podcast up there, and there's an RSS feed for all you old school folks. We're live streaming on Facebook on the Radio Zero page and Poster Children page, and on Twitch at PCJC USA, and on the Poster Children YouTube channel. I don't know how many weeks it's been at the same time. We're doing every 2 weeks, usually around 4 p.m. on a Friday. And so, yeah.
Oh, wait.
We've been very consistent. You can patronize us at patreon.com/Radio Zero. Thank you to everyone who has been patronizing us.
Wait, I can't see us.
Oh, are we not streaming?
Maybe not.
Oh,
no, we are. No, I just have to click on it again. I just had to go back and click on it again this time.
I ran an intro. Oh, I don't have it on. I don't have my computer here. I ran.
Hey, Larry.
What is it called? Chat
GPT?
Yeah, I ran.
GTP.
I created an intro for Radio Zero, and it did an intro for the show, and the intro was describing a show that's much more interesting than ours.
Oh, well, what was it?
How
come you're not
technology and its impact on our
what
world.
What did you do with that? You're like sitting here going, "What are we going to talk about? What do we?" And you didn't even tell me that you already looked at the Chat GPT.
Well, because we
Chat,
spent
whatever.
a large portion of the last episode 2 weeks ago talking about it.
Oh,
I
it's
think.
not over yet, friend.
I know it's not over, but
it's just the beginning.
the
Take
tendency
good care
is
of the machines.
The tendency is sometimes to say the exact same things 2 weeks later. If we continue talking about the topic, it's not. It might not be a continuation. It might just be
the same thing.
The
over
same
and
thing.
Over again.
Yeah.
Well, that's okay. That's yeah. Yeah. Well, what's funny is like over the past 2 weeks, I've been introducing this in my class, because half of the students know about it and the other half do not. So now all of them know about it. They actually pay attention. Okay, I will probably say the same things, right? You can ask the AI.
No, you've said some interesting stuff, which is how you've since the last episode, you've done some stuff with it in your class. So you should talk about that because that's different.
Okay, Tim Bowers says greetings from Dresden, Iowa. I'm just gonna make fun of. I'm gonna say that you're in Dresden. No, it's Dresden, Ohio, which there is such a thing probably. I remember Dresden. It was very yellow, and we played a show there. And we finally ended up. We wrote a song called Dresden, right? Salaryman.
It started out as Dresden, and we changed its name to Kuroshi because we didn't feel like it was not a respectful name.
Right.
Well, it's not that it wasn't respectful. It was just that it was
it was named disrespectfully.
No, I don't think it was named disrespectfully. I think if you have an instrumental and you name it Dresden, there's so much room for people to apply meaning onto it that I made a choice where it was like, I do not want to spend a lot of time, especially since that Salaryman record came out in Europe. I did not want to spend a lot of time explaining why it was called.
Why did you call this Dresden? Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
That
makes
is not
sense.
what I wanted to do. And then, although somebody said Kuroshi seems a little, and just the fact the name is Salaryman and everything like that, there's cultural appropriation there. But it's a much more complex cultural appropriation. So, because it's Salaryman's English words.
Sure.
Yeah, it's very complicated. But Kuroshi is death from overwork, which, I thought
Americans
that's
don't have a word.
better name for the song.
I love that.
Anyways.
Name. What's this now? So Tim Bowers also mentions Home of Slaughterhouse 5.
Exactly. So as an American band who was touring Europe a lot, I didn't want to name a song Dresden.
Yeah.
Because it would stir up lots of
talk to people.
lots of questions that yeah, I feel like
who weren't
Kurt
prepared.
Vonnegut could answer better than I could.
Yeah, yeah. Even in his current state.
Even in his current state, he could answer those
Yeah.
questions better than I could.
So
Yes, so
where were we? Oh, about the AI then.
yeah,
did
so
we
I
get-
thought it was interesting what you were starting to use it for helping students debug problems, right?
Oh yeah, so like a friend of ours like threw a bunch of his code. He's not a coder, he hasn't gone to school for coding. He threw I may have said this already, but it threw a whole bunch of code in, with a lot of like repeated statements that like repeated variable assignments, and it optimized his code. Like it optimized, and I was like, show me that. And then I looked at it and it like optimized it like I would optimize it, And then we've been kind of looking at like students will ask it questions about something that happens in my class. Like, how do you make, what was it? How would we scrape the weather data and put it into this, how would we stick weather data into this game? Like, how would we employ weather data into this game? And then it would say, well, you need to search for an API such as Open Weather Map and take a look at that and then find, parse the JSON. And like it gave the exact instructions as I would. In fact, maybe it's scraping my lessons, right? Because my lessons
It's
are
entirely possible.
yeah, or that's just the way everybody does this.
Yeah, that's what you realize, just especially if you're in a creative field, and you realize that that idea of originality or unique perspective or unique inspiration or singular inventors is completely ridiculous,
Yeah.
right? And so
Yeah.
now
And
with this, it's just kind of aggregating. Of course,
like
there's going to
encoding
be
too.
approaches to solving a problem, or using
Yeah.
code.
Yeah. So but it's funny when people are just like, oh my god, AI is gonna. How did it do that? So some people are just like they can't even understand how, how picture recognition works or something like that. Oh my god, how did that work? And then, which is fine for you to not understand it. But then other people, like the students, are just like, she knows about that. Like half the students, oh my God, she knows. Oh shit. And they're like looking at each other, and I'm like, how many of you guys know about this? And they're like looking at each other, like in the second class, only one kid raised his hand. Everybody else looked at each other. I'm like, well, I'm going to venture a guess to say that half of you know about it and the other half don't, which is really going to, make a rift in how much I can expect from y'all, right? And so everybody should know about it. And then I said, like, did I say this last 2 weeks ago? Like, I stood in front of the class and I said, any teacher who tells you can't use this is a moron. And I used the word moron.
Wow.
And they were like, ooh. But that's ridiculous, because half of you are going to use it anyway, and the other half are not going to use it, and then it's going to make it, it's going to make it unfair. And they were like, oh yeah. So, but it's funny. Even last night, like I was debugging, or this morning I was debugging a problem with somebody, and we have like you have to in this JavaScript library that we're using, you have to like write out the X and Y locations of like X and Y coordinates of where you want the points of a triangle to be. And he's made this really cool project. This guy's really into David Foster Wallace, so he's got like the fish speech, and so he's got a fish going one direction, and he wants it to go the other direction. So he's got a triangle attached to a little oval. And so we just want to, we want to flip the triangle, right? And that's a terrible, he had like a base variable with like a plus 36 on one of them, like minus 30, it was just too early in the morning to try to figure out how to flip the triangle. And then I had already said, oh, well, let's just use a translate command, or let's just use the scale -1 command I did the scale -1 and the y. Oops. Okay, so they're like, anyway, I -1 scaled the y-axis instead of the x-axis. It should have been... No, that would have been right. Never mind. Anyway, it didn't work. And then I was like, oh, let's just throw this into the chat, into the AI chat, and see if it, and ask it to reverse it for us. And he was like, you're not going to do that. And I can't imagine why one would not use that to their advantage. First of all, and then my argument is that I have contributed to the internet for it, most of its public life, that I could contribute to it, so I now should reap the benefits.
You're one cell in the brain.
That's
or
right.
One,
What's it for?
Neuron.
Yeah.
In this collective.
That's right.
Knowledge base, and
now I should reap the benefits.
yeah, this super brain.
Yeah. So now we need to figure out how to move forward with this. Don't ever, so now I'm my mission is how are we going to warn the rest of the university? That you can't tell your, sorry, art history people, here, what, one of the classes was well, the citations are not there, so we couldn't use it. And then the next class is well, you can just ask it to put the citations in. Oh, yeah.
With citation.
With citation, with whatever format, ALA or whatever the formats you need.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I'll say again, I cannot wait for somebody to ask me to write a recommendation for them, because I will do it now. It will be very easy. It is just the structure and the framework, I mean, usually I feel like I'm squeezing the blood out of the stone when I'm trying to write one of these things. I mean, I love everybody. I think you're all wonderful, but it's so hard for me to write a recommendation letter, like a coherent recommendation
Well,
letter.
that's my argument, is that I think you can, I don't think you can get a good, so the stuff with the debugging too, it's so using it as a prompt or as an example, or that to me is just like doing a search for code examples, right? And then this is kind of doing that, but you kind of have to understand, because it also says this could have mistakes and errors, right?
Yeah.
And so you still have to have the knowledge to be able to filter what you're getting out of the
mostly, but you're also it also explains to you. It does a really good job of explaining. It explained when I asked it how to scrape weather data, it explained it the way I would explain it. Now when we asked we asked it to turn the fish's tail, we asked it to reverse it, and it gave us code, and that did not work.
Okay, good. That's good to know.
Is it? I guess so.
So it's kind of a half-assed employee.
Yeah, exactly.
Right now.
Yeah. But it's the future, and I want all our students to, hopefully I modeled good behavior for them. And then, at the end, they were just and then I said, well, it's time to wrap up the class, you guys. And then I typed into the chat GPT, I wrote, write a letter to my students and thanking them for coming to class in my computer programming for creatives class at Illinois State University. And it wrote me a nice 3-paragraph paper. And so I read it to them. I stood in front of them and I read it off the screen to them. And they were laughing and laughing. It was really funny. And then the second paragraph, I kind of got teared up. I said, I really appreciate how, I was reading the machine's words, but I was
You were, yeah.
I was putting emotion into it.
Yeah, the argument could be that, that's the difference, is that the reading it, presenting it, but it's just a matter of time before
just a matter of time.
Bot can, recreate that emotional. Well, they've already got being able to generate voices and everything like that. And
sure.
So being able to get the emotion right and the tone. Yeah. And then what I'm really not looking forward to is movies like 100, well, I won't be here, but 100 years from now, movies with, all the actors from now in them. There's no reason, it's why would you have new actors if you just keep generating Harrison Ford movies with the Harrison
because
Ford.
He'll be out of style like he is now.
But he'll come back in style. There'll be another style. It's kind of like music, right? So if you think about what's going on with music, right? We've talked about this a lot, I think, is that, that idea of generational and, you like this type of music because you're from this generation. But now it's we've got a 13-year-old who knows, what's that song called? Not Shadoobie, but, knows all sorts of eras of music.
Because
and it's
nostalgia is powerful, Rick.
But it's not his nostalgia, right? It's somebody else's nostalgia, and they've or not even that. It's just they found an old song, and then it's on TikTok, and now, kids are listening to a song from the 50s and then a song from the present day, right next to each other, and there's no generational kind of connection to a certain genre of music or era of music, right? And so the same thing with movies. It's like, okay, why would you, it's like, oh, well, Harrison Ford's out of style. Well, who was an actor that was in style when Harrison Ford was out of style, right? You'll just use that actor in that area.
Well,
but I don't think it'll even be that.
It's
It'll
a
be
trope.
like, oh, I like Harrison Ford movies. I need an action star. I want this guy.
I know, because no, that's not going to happen. So who's the Harrison Ford before Harrison Ford? I forgot. Was it Gary?
Gary?
Okay,
Shandling?
No, you know what I mean? Like the
Gary Cooper?
good-looking actor who couldn't act, who was in a bunch of movies.
Yeah, I guess that could be Gary Cooper. If you're talking about Gary Cooper.
Yeah, there's tropes. There's like human being tropes. Like, good-looking person who can't act, but
Star,
it's fun to.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not worried about it. What I'm worried about is how many Academy Awards, Everything Everywhere All at Once is going to win.
Well, you're going to have to wait
Yeah,
until
I know.
the nominees get announced.
Larry, we're boring Larry enough for him to say, I may be experiencing the Mandela effect. I never noticed the globe behind Rick until now. And do you know what, Larry? That globe could be yours for just the price of shipping, because there are 2 globes behind him. And you can see the other one, like on his, like, I don't know if you call it, his behind his right ear. There's another globe. Why are there 2 globes on our buffet table?
Because we had 2 children, so
no,
at some point someone buys your young child a globe.
Globe, really? Is that
yeah,
what it is?
I think so.
It wasn't that I found, oh, look, this is $5. I better buy it.
No, I don't think so.
He says we're not boring him.
Okay, good. Yeah, no, those globes have been there for quite a while.
I had one in my hand, and I was like, I'm getting rid of this fucking thing. And then I was like, Dowd, you want this globe? And he's like, no. Because you always got to buy a globe. When you see a cheap globe, you need to buy it because you're going to make that light, that hanging light out of the globe, where you poke holes into it, and then you stick a light bulb in the inside of it, and then you have a globe light.
Never heard of that.
I have, and I haven't made it yet.
Repurpose your useless globes.
Exactly. So many things in this house that there's just too much shit in this house. But I did get rid of a bag today, so that's good.
You actually had someone today say, your house must be so wonderfully decorated because of it was your Sparkle sister is what I came up with. Oh, I knew when the 2 of you were talking that you were Sparkle sisters. The person you gifted the Sparkle backpack and the hair.
Wait,
to.
you said that we were Sparkle sisters?
I did. And her were Sparkle sisters.
Yeah.
I knew you were Sparkle the way you had both started talking about sparkly things.
And
then, but her was. Today she thought, it was like, oh, your house must be really interestingly decorated.
Did she say interesting?
No. I'm trying to think of. I said it's definitely interesting. She said something else that was very positive, and I was like, yeah, it's definitely interesting. Eclectic, I think is what I said. Yeah, it's eclectic.
Yeah. Well, neighborhood thrift store, not a sponsor. I don't go there anymore because the last thing I bought was like a 3-foot tall, 800-pound statue of Mary, and that's up in my
room. That you
actually
hid from me.
I hid from you. Yeah,
I did not
where's
see
Rick? Where's Dad? Where's Dad? Is he downstairs?
Smuggled Mary into the house, and then I don't think I noticed it until the winter when I start going around and I fill up the humidifiers we have on
so
our radiators, and I'm like, where did this come from? When I went into your little office room, and I'm like,
did you notice how heavy it is too? It's amazing.
I just noticed that it's a gigantic Virgin Mary statue in our house.
April's here, and Joe Christman says season's greetings. April says Indiana Jones goes to the moon to punch out space Nazis.
Yeah, I mean,
I'd watch that. Good idea, April. Yeah. April Smith. I say April Jones. April Smith.
That was something, somebody said, what was it, 10 years ago or whatever, is, that whenever the Star Wars movies were coming out again, and it was like, one thing is guaranteed is that there will be Star Wars movies after we all die, right? It's like knowing that.
Just like Westerns.
It's going to outlive us.
It's a Western.
Like there will be a new Star Wars. The day, the year you pass away, there will be a Star Wars movie coming out, or
I hope I get to see it before I die.
well, that's the
I
thing
like
is it'll
Star
never
Wars.
end. You know, it's just going to continue
It's like
on
Westerns.
beyond us. But yeah, maybe it won't. Maybe it won't. Maybe we'll. Yeah.
And
maybe.
you know what else will be there still? The Bible. So shut the fuck up. And the Mormons too. The Mormon Bible too. Who was mansplaining to me about the Mormons the other day? It was good. Larry also says to autograph the globe and put it on the website and he'll buy it. We should just start autographing off everything in this house like that lamp. There's too much stuff. I know.
It's just we need to I bookmarked that, or I made a reminder for the garage sale this year. We have a
No one's going to buy
community
this.
garage sale.
You know why no one's going to buy any of this stuff?
Because it was in the last garage sale.
Because I bought it all from the garage sales
sale.
around
Okay,
here.
okay, yeah.
Hey-o.
It's like the table you bought, the great, 50s kitchen table that we had for a long time. You bought from the neighborhood thrift store, and they said
They'll take it back.
they'll take it back.
Yeah.
If you don't, whenever you're done with it,
it's
they'll take it
downstairs in the
back.
basement. We can
And
put
then
it.
and then when we went in to get the different table that we have now in our dining room or kitchen, and you said, "Well, will you take back? You guys want this table?" I'm like, no.
Oh, did he say that?
Yeah.
Oh, he'd take
totally.
it.
No,
Oh,
totally.
well,
Was
I
like,
can, I
no,
can still get
we
rid of
can't
it. It's
do
a
that.
50s table.
It's a one-way business. They're not there to buy
They
back
pick
furniture.
stuff up all the time. I don't want to argue about
Well,
that.
yeah, from garage sales, they're not going to buy stuff back
Oh.
for $150 or whatever they charge.
Oh, I wouldn't
for.
think. No, I wouldn't think. I would think it would have
Didn't want it.
depreciated.
Didn't want
Okay,
it.
I don't care.
Anyways,
I like
it's a nice
it.
table, but that's garage sale
Yeah.
material. We just
Yeah.
gotta actually put stuff out during.
During the garage sales,
Yeah.
the neighborhood garage sales. Okay. So what do you got this week?
Me?
Yeah.
Well, you went to Mexico, right?
I went to Mexico.
for a week.
Yeah, and
There's
you had
gotta
to
be
drive
some
me back
kinda-
from it.
There's got to be some kind of
I
at
went
least 30 minutes of content about Mexico if you were
Okay.
there for a week.
Let's see. I went to Mexico. I
Is this
stopped
the bot?
with
Is
my
this the bot
sister.
generating your
Oh yeah,
conversation?
yeah. Let me look that up. I went to Mexico for a capoeira conference. I'm going to look it up right now. Chat OpenAI. Let's see if I can get on. I should have done this
don't
before.
do that. Talk about what actually happened. Don't waste our time with the
tell
chat bot.
Story about.
No, come
okay,
on.
all right. I went to Mexico for a capoeira conference. I always wanted to accompany my teacher to an international conference and see how he gave workshops. So I got to see that. That was very nice. And the guy who was running it was like amazing, wonderful guy. And I got to meet his wife. And all right. So the one thing that let's see. I don't know what's of note. We stayed in the middle. Mexico City is huge. We stayed in a hotel. An apartment, and the apartment cost everybody $95 for the whole week that we stayed there. Like each person had to pay $95.
Great.
It was really, really cheap. So it was like $19 a day. Let's see. I learned that I am obsessed with public transportation in cities. And also, like a big city like that, you're just stopped in traffic anyway. And I guess I don't like that feeling of being stopped in traffic in a car with a bunch of sick people in more ways than one.
You'd rather be stuck in a
Subway.
train car,
Yeah,
subway with
because
a bunch
they
of
move.
sick people.
Well, no, they move, and you could wear a mask if you need to.
That's true.
So, and then there were people were taking Ubers and stuff, and you know how much that costs. And the peso is pretty low to the dollar right now, so everything was pretty cheap. But the subway cost like 25 cents to go anywhere you needed to go. And it was real. It wasn't like the subway, you just went down and then you got on the subway and you went, it's told you which direction, it had the ending. It didn't have a whole lot of stops. It was less complicated than the one in London. And it told you
That's good.
yeah. And it told you you're going to go towards Observatorio, or I don't know what the other direction was, because I was always going towards Observatorio. And it was like everything is always the same in these places, right? So I'm like walking to the subway and I'm like, okay, where am I going to buy the subway ticket? It's either right when you walk in or you got to descend down into the subway area and then there's going to be ticket things. And so we walk in and I see like you see like a brightly lit like little corner store all the way in the corner like pressed against the wall, and it's like that might be it. And then you walk a little bit closer, and even though it's in a different language, it's one of those cell phone places, where you can buy like cell phone chargers and like burner cell phones and stuff. It's like get a little bit close to it, and I saw the ads and I saw the colors, and it's like, oh, that's not where I'm going to buy the ticket. So I went downstairs, and then that was where I was going to buy the ticket. And then there were just the two different types of tickets. The little paper ticket that they have in like every subway, like even like we were in the subway in Switzerland, or I'm trying to remember where we were, where you just kind of jam the ticket in the side and then it comes up like.
Oh yeah, that's what they used to have in the. They had that in
London,
the underground.
too?
Yeah, London Underground used to be that.
Yeah. So it's just like you kind of, it's like I've played this type of game before. And so, you just get on the subway and then you look at people and if there's somebody older than you let them sit down. And I like the feeling of the moving subway. So I really enjoyed that. But not many other people in my party took the subway. And apparently it's dangerous, but it didn't look dangerous to me.
Yeah. So the question is it dangerous, or is it like certain times of day dangerous, right?
Yeah. And I was staying in the area where like there are nice stores, or you could tell there are people walking around with their kids, and you can kind of just tell. You can kind of tell. So, and then at night there were the workshops, and we got to meet the students from the other teacher, and they're like these two like little teenager boys who were brothers, and they were like fighting, and they were like adorable, just absolutely adorable, and they were really good.
This is something I'm remembering. I can't remember where we were when I was a kid, but like my dad, yes, both my parents grew up in the city, and it was like, oh no, let's just walk. We'll walk there. And it was like, and I remember being a little kid, and it was like, I've never seen a place like this. It was like we were walking through like what would be called projects, windows open. I remember hearing Sesame Street blasting out of a window, and I was super little, but it was like, yeah, there's something about, yeah. And so, well, it didn't quite, you traveled, you went into the city, into Chicago when you were younger, but your parents weren't as cavalier about it, right? They they were worried about you, but that was probably because you were a female. But yeah, my parents were were pretty, well, since they had lived in the city and wandered around, and that's all they ever did was take public transportation and walking. When they were kids, I don't think they had cars until they moved to the suburbs, and so it was like my mom didn't know how to drive until she moved to the suburbs. I remember my mom taking driving lessons when I was a little kid. Yeah. She didn't even know how to drive because there was no reason for her to drive. Yeah. She had never lived any place that required driving. And so, yeah, there's something to be said for the experience of public transportation, like having that experience and knowledge, because I think you're a little less frightened.
Well, and then also you're empowered to go anywhere. Like especially with our phones now, you can just plug in like wherever you want to go and just click the little adjacent button to the car, and then it'll tell you how to get there with the public transportation. So
that's what I love about So the last few times we've traveled internationally is like, the hardest thing is getting the hang of the subway schedules and system, and just being able to say, oh, I want to go from here to here, and then I want to use public transportation. It tells you what stop and what side. Sometimes it's like what side of the station you need to be on.
And how many stops there are in between.
But even learning, that's the thing is I remember I must have learned it as a kid also, where it's like, oh, if you get on the train, the subway, the L going the wrong direction, you get off at the next stop, and you walk around to the other side of the platform, and then you get back on the train going the other direction. It's like even learning that, and that's a thing that's not obvious. You have to learn that.
I didn't.
There should be like city lessons, and I'm wondering that. Yeah, about the former bag boy, what was his last job? Dairy King. had learned some of that, so he's a little more comfortable in the city than I think a lot of the other kids.
Yeah,
at his
yeah.
school.
Thank
Yeah.
goodness. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Because it really is empowering. You don't need a car to go places most of the time. I mean, it's not as easy, but that's like I've done like these weird things where you got to, get off the, like I've tried, like getting to O'Hare from different places, like is not as easy as it should be in the
Although,
city.
so the thing is, though, is they're also like, so one of our friends from college who went to U of I, but then went to UIC, also tells stories about how he and his friends, got off the L at the wrong place, and then it was really late at night, and then were followed and kind of hassled. Nothing, no violence, nothing, no threats or anything, but had a group of people hassling them. It's like, what are you doing here? Why are you here? And it's just like,
Yeah.
so there are those moments too.
Yeah. So Joe Christmas says, I love when the AI reroutes you to navigate traffic or train jams.
Yeah.
And Larry's asking me how the food was there. Well, I didn't like it, Larry, because it's Mexican food, and I hate Mexican food. Every fucking restaurant we went to was like more Mexican food.
And I love it. Like today,
I know.
like today, walked into the School of Music office, and there's a whole spread of leftover
3-day-old Moe's.
And I was just
not
like,
a sponsor.
this is the best day of my life.
But
And
School of Music is a sponsor.
Yeah, so Rose wrote, the only problem is it's Mexican food all the time. And I'm like, and then the next thing I wrote back is like, can you research retiring to Mexico? Like for me, it was like, I'm like,
Yeah.
where would I want to retire? Somewhere that's warm.
You know
But
what
then
though?
you were complaining about the temperature too.
Oh yeah,
right?
yeah. So it gets up to about 74 or 75 in the daytime, and people are still wearing coats because at night it's in the 40s.
Yeah, and so
Disgusting.
everything you say to me is like, this is my
You would've
dream.
liked it.
I need to move to Mexico City.
You would have loved it.
Yeah.
So the one thing, I did have, like when you're walking around, you're kind of looking. There are Mexican restaurants everywhere because it's Mexico. So you're kind of looking. You're like, which one of these, like because you got to go up close to it to see the menu and then try to translate the menu. So which one of these has a vegetarian option?
Yeah,
So that's the thing.
Yeah.
So you're looking, there's one that's got bright colors, and then there's another one that's got the cool hipster lights, and like another one that's got
like a statue of a chicken staring at you from the window.
Right. So I mean, so trying to translate that, like the decor, from a different language of like sort of mom and pop restaurants. That was like, okay, do I want to eat? And there was one we were walking past, like the first day we were trying to find, me and my friend were trying to find a restaurant that we could both agree on, because she was gluten-free and I was a vegetarian. And so that's like the opposite basically. So like there was one restaurant with like a bunch of real hipster looking people sitting in the front, and I just like, I'm like looking and I'm like, man, like drinking different craft beers and stuff, and I'm like, if there's going to be a vegetarian option here, it's going to be like $50. It's going to be too expensive. It just looked like it's going to be one of those expensive places, so you want to go somewhere where you're not going to die from the food, but also has vegetarian option. I don't know. It's just, that was worrisome. So finally, like the next day, I was just walking around by myself after that. And there was one day when I was looking on the phone, and there was a place, near called Vegamo or something, Vegamo or vegan. It's like a vegan restaurant. So I was like, oh, I got to go there. And it's right next to like the center of town where people were hanging out in markets and stuff. So I went, and somebody suggested that I go there, some lady in one of the markets. So I went in there and I got a Chewbacca sandwich. It was like named after
that
Chewbacca.
Doesn't sound vegan.
It was named after Chewbacca. Well, he's plant-based.
Aren't they're plant-based Wookiees? Or
oh yeah, they don't eat meat. Yeah, totally. Yeah,
herbivores?
They're like they're herbivores. So
I don't.
It was green. It was green colored.
Is that from the Star Wars Christmas special?
I probably
holiday. Was it holiday special or Christmas? It was called Christmas special, right?
I don't. Yeah,
Is
I
it
don't.
called a holiday special? I used to have that.
Good question. You can look that up on the internet.
I think
the
I've got
AI
that
will
on
tell you.
both VHS and some burned DVD.
But
I seem to remember transferring the Star Wars Christmas special to DVD for someone.
I remember you doing that too, and you probably talked about it on Radio
Yeah,
Zero.
we could probably go back 20 years and pinpoint the date that I had to do the digital transfer.
Yeah, the only other thing of note besides the the class is really fun. that was really neat. I'm trying to remember.
Toilet, you want a toilet talk? A little toilet talk?
Yeah, you don't throw toilet paper in the toilet in any country other than America.
That's not 100% true.
Well, yeah, it may not be
But it is,
100%
yeah.
true, but it's true for Mexico. So our toilet got clogged for a night. So
Someone didn't get the
bad.
memo.
Somebody
or
didn't get the memo.
They used the memo to wipe their butt and then flushed it.
That happened. And I'm trying to think if I could say anything about the classes. Like, I met this lady named Pipoca, who I'm just totally in love with. We were both talking, and we're both talking in Portuguese to each other. We were both talking about, like, she's got to be a little, like, I don't know how much younger than me she is, but she's got a kid too. And we were talking about, she asked me, why did I start capoeira? And I said, at that point, I said, no say, I don't know. Which made her laugh. But we were both like talking about, I'm trying to think, she's like, well, I don't like to run. I went to the gym and I don't like to run. I'm like, I don't like running either. Like, running sucks, yeah. And then we were both, and how about, what else you do at the gym? And we both at the same time, like, moved our arms up and down in the air, like, and we were dying laughing because we both did it at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So that was really neat. And she's amazing, but she got sick. Everybody got sick except me.
Huh.
Like, everybody got horribly sick. Oh, and I slept on the couch.
And so not water?
No,
sick?
No. So the first person who came in got sick, and the person who was sleeping with them, and I was sleeping in the same room with those people, and I was just like, you guys get your own beds. I'll just sleep on the couch. And I wanted to sleep on the couch anyway because I don't want to sleep in the room with anybody else. But it turns out that the couch was like one of those 2-seater couches, so that kind of sucked a little. But it was pretty comfortable. But I slept on the couch and everybody else got sick.
So you did the bottled water thing? Is that how you made it through without? Yeah.
Yeah.
I when I went to Indonesia years ago, yeah, the water was an issue, and I was the one who made it the longest without getting. We were there for 6 weeks, though. It was a work thing, and I think I made it 2 weeks without getting the runs.
Yeah,
the runs,
nobody.
which is what it was called in my family. The runs.
Getting the run. We call it diarrhea.
Yeah, no, that's
crapping your guts out.
Yeah, it was the runs. Do you have the runs?
Yeah, no, this was the grippy. Everybody got the flu, and like now I feel bad. Like I'm like how like I feel left out.
Maybe whatever you got it earlier, right? So you have a resistance to it. Did you get a flu shot?
No, I'm the only one who didn't get a flu shot. Also,
weird.
Also, people were making fun of me for not eating meat, and so maybe that's what Maybe I didn't get
the meat
sick.
flu.
Yeah, maybe it was, but
chicken flu.
So the one thing that was of note,
beef flu, cow flu.
I mean, I can talk about some other things too, but it's not I learned that I have a confidence problem this year.
This year, that's when you learned it?
I learned, I learned that I need to step it up because I wasn't acting like an advanced student. I saw this other guy who was like an advanced student. I was like, oh, there's another one of those. Like when I go to a capoeira conference, and I'm always like, oh, look at those people. They're probably so advanced. I can't wait to see them play.
Yeah.
And so this one guy I saw, I was like, oh man. And I was kind of watching him, and I was like, because he looks so confident and everything. And then I talked to them later, and I was like, how many years of capoeira did you have, or do you have? And I have more. And that like broke my brain, like kind of. I was like, wow, I should be a lot better. That's how I felt. So anyway, I got taught about my lack of confidence.
There's a middle ground, right?
Yeah.
So
yes.
You don't necessarily have an extreme confidence problem because you're still doing it and you're still working on it, right?
Yeah. But there's a way that one should act when they're like, like even as a professor, there's a way to act. And my whole fucking life, like every like when I worked at Frasca, like my employee evaluation was like, you need more confidence. So, but the one thing of note, that was kind of note for me, like to remember. But the one thing of note was like the first day that we got there, we were told that if you hear a siren, then you have 15 seconds to leave your apartment. And we were like, why? I was like, why? And the person said, because earthquake. And I was like, oh my God, And as we were walking, how often does it happen? Oh, not very often. So as we were walking on the streets, though, the streets have like giant cracks in them, like where a tree is coming up. Like there's a tree coming out of the street, and then like a giant, like boulders that you could climb on. And it's the bouldering of like the sidewalk. So it's kind of like the tree. We were trying to figure out, did the tree crack through the sidewalk, or is it like, are the tree roots making this problem of the sidewalk, or was it earthquakes? And you could see like other areas that kind of looked the same, but there was no tree there. So it was kind of like, we decided, oh man, it's probably earthquakes. And apparently the earthquakes there are like really, really bad, really intense, and buildings collapse and people die. Anyway, the last day, the morning, somebody was knocking at the door, and it was so loud there. Like every night it was so loud. There were parties going all night long. But this night, so it was like pounding and knocking and people yelling and stuff. And I was like, again. And then the pounding got like really, really loud, like, no, 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 no. And we were like, what the hell? So somebody went to answer the door, and it was our friend, one of the people staying with us, with his baby in a carriage, and he's screaming, get out, the alarm is going. And you could see people just like butt to butt running down the stairs, and people yelling, and dogs barking and running down the stairs with the people. And so I was like, oh my God, like kind of like a tornado warning for me, but like a little worse. Like I was going to go downstairs, and like when the tornado warnings hit here, you're now you have a choice. You're like, I'm going to look outside first. So we do that. Come on. We kind of go downstairs, but I look outside. But this was like, oh my God, and our teacher was yelling, leave, so I'm like, I'll grab my purse and my passport and I was like, my phone. I got to grab my phone. We were leaving later that day, so everything was kind of packed. And I ran down the stairs. We all ran down the stairs, and I was just like, this is so, I was saying, this is so cool, because, which is stupid, that I learned about how stupid that was. But I think what I meant was, like I actually got to see like real Mexico, like really what happens to people there. And there was no earthquake.
False alarm.
Yeah.
So they don't, I mean, I know like for tsunamis, they have the early warning systems in like Japan, but like,
that's what this was.
Do they have that in like LA and San Francisco? Do they have these like early warning systems? Like
I could ask the AI. I don't know.
Yeah,
and somebody was saying that, it was the volcano that went off in Chile, that like somebody else was saying that, when one of these sensors gets triggered, it doesn't know how widespread the waves are going to be or something like that.
Yeah.
So, there's probably, you could probably tap into whatever trigger you want. There's probably APIs for it. In fact, I should go and look at the earth. Well, anyway, there was no earthquake.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's, whenever we have an earthquake around here, not that often, but or is it just national? But there's definitely like a site where you can go and you can look at all the, all the activity around the planet. Yeah. Yeah. I'm sure they've got a way to pull all that data, right?
Yeah. So on the way back, I was in a van with people, and they were just poking fun at everybody in the van, but I got upset. And so I called Rick and asked him to come. I made them leave me at Wally's, which is like, kind of, I don't know, it seems like a nostalgic place for us, but
That's 2 years old.
It's 2 years old. It's like modeled after a nostalgic place, right? It's road trip.
They're trying to create a
Route 66
character for the.
But I knew,
brand.
it was at that, like I was at a breaking point, and I knew that I could call on you. Like I just knew that I could call on you. So.
And that night, I got my crossword puzzle done at 11:30 at night.
Well,
It had been a busy day, and I almost.
you didn't even say anything, too. You were just like, okay, here I come. It was like a drunk kid calling you, Dad,
Yeah,
I
exactly.
took too many drugs. Can you come pick me up in Chicago? Uh-huh, here I come.
Well, you remember what happened when the van broke down to record Flower?
Your dad came.
Yeah. We were driving up the night before
It was
our
probably
first real studio session with Ian
Yeah.
Burgess, and
Yeah.
the van died in, where did it die? I can't remember anymore.
Gilman?
Gilman?
Was it Gilman Chatsworth?
No. It was
We
the
can look.
place near Kankakee, but it wasn't Kankakee. Yeah. Drove down and then Shannon's girlfriend at the time drove up
him,
and picked up some of the
Yeah.
gear too. Yeah.
But I mean, I knew you'd come. So thank you.
Yeah.
And it's stupid, and I got yelled at by
For
my
for
sisters.
multiple reasons. Like, I'm not going to leave you at Wally's by yourself. I'm also not going to
Well,
let you take an Uber 30 minutes.
Public transportation from Wally's would be fascinating too.
I don't think there's any public transportation between
The
there.
other thing is
maybe there's a Greyhound. I've never seen I've never seen a
Any
Greyhound stop in between here in Chicago. Actually, I don't even know where the Greyhound stops in between.
Oh, it stops everywhere.
Oh no, I know,
Yeah,
but I
you
have
haven't
no
seen it.
knowledge.
Yeah.
I think I took the Greyhound once from. I don't think I ever took the Greyhound from Champaign to Chicago when I was a kid or in school.
Well,
I took there was the bus that would go just for students, right?
there were
but-
two
yeah.
different buses. Well, and
Suburban Express. That's right.
Yeah, and then the O'Hare
Yeah,
But
that was all Suburban Express,
to
right?
be fair, we were running out of the dark chocolate non-pearls that you can only get at Wally's. Also,
We
although
had
they
been
are out of it too.
Yeah. I've been to Wally's 3 times in the past couple of weeks, I think.
It's a nice.
It's not
place.
healthy for me. I just wind up buying some potato-based chip and then a big giant, it's not a slushy, a Dr. Pepper sloosh, which I shouldn't be drinking.
Yeah.
It's like I've got to stop the special. I've got to stop. Oh, it's a special occasion. I'll have a giant Dr. Pepper sploosh. It's like, no. It's not a special occasion.
Rusty is listening and posted something from the Guardian Star Wars Holiday Special, and it says, "May the Farce be with you."
Oh yeah.
Looked
That
at
we
that.
watched that, the Guardians of the Galaxy special.
Oh yeah. We were laughing. We were laughing through it.
I was spending a lot of time trying to, in the unfortunate situation of like, do I have to watch the Star Wars Holiday Special now to see what's referenced between those two?
And then you decided, no, I don't have to.
No, I don't. I don't
Yeah.
need to see Jefferson Starship. I believe it was Jefferson Starship. Yeah, it wasn't Starship yet. It was Jefferson Starship perform one of their mid-'70s hits.
And Larry says, glad you made it through that. Like my sisters screamed at me, like, what the fuck is the matter with you? When people are making fun of you, just take it, let it roll off. But like, I don't know. I just left the game. And it was, and you had to pay for it. So I'm sorry about that, but I owe you. I owe you.
I'm not late to the thing like Gary Goldman, the comedian. So yeah, Neil Brennan was good. I talked about his news thing, but then I watched an older Gary Goldman special, and he talked all about like bullying in the 70s and just how easy it is. Not in a negative comedian way, in a positive comedian way. Hard to believe about bullying and the way school was in the 70s. One of the things he said is, what does he say? It's like, and you'd only have 3 seconds to drink from the water fountain, and you had to make sure the person behind you didn't hit the back of your head and slam your face into the spigot of the water fountain. And that, in the 1970s was considered horseplay, whereas now it's felony assault. Right?
Oh yeah, yeah,
It was
yeah,
just
yeah.
like trying to talk about how awful kids were and just people were to each other. Like, it's bad now, obviously. Nazis are back, there's still there's bad stuff, but it's like just general behavior, especially in like grade school and junior high is just how abusive people were and horrible they were.
The bullying, like the worst bullying I remember in like grade school was everybody wanted to go down the slide, and there were sixth graders waiting at the bottom of the slide, and they were going to poke a pin in you. They had a pin, and they were going to poke. If you went down the slide, they would stick you with a pin. And I was like, holy shit, I'm not going down the slide. And, and I hope they could get me afterwards too. Like, why are they just waiting at the end of the slide? They could poke you with a pin right by the door or something. I remember.
So I missed, I think I had this in a song and I took it out. Maybe I didn't. I got to school late once, grade school, and there was an ambulance, and a kid had fallen off the slide. And so the slide was on the blacktop at the time. They moved the slide because of that. So I was in a transitional era where it was like they realized, oh, wait a minute, we probably shouldn't have slides and swing sets on the concrete, on the blacktop, right? We should put this on the grass, right? That was how irresponsible things were when I was in grade school. But a kid had fallen off the slide, the high slide, and fallen and hurt himself really badly, and went to the hospital. But then another student, he basically fell on her. She broke her arm, and she had a cast, and the kids were taunting her for not catching the other kid.
Oh, yeah.
Why didn't you catch him? And I was just like, and I showed up, after all this happened, and it was like people screaming and crying. It just looked like a horrifying thing. And what some of my peers got out of it is like, making fun of this other kid. Why didn't you catch him for falling off the slide? It's just like, I always remember that, where it's just like, wow, this is not normal human behavior. Or it is. I guess it is. It's just I took a lesson from that, which is like, wow, kids are really cruel.
So, I mean, this is interesting because like one could be in like a committee meeting, like with a whole bunch of people, or like in a van full of adults, and bullying still can go on. And it's, and like bandwagon jumping upon could go on and stuff like that.
Or you can just, because of your childhood experiences in negative environment, is that you view everything through that lens of, sixth grade still. And so that's what that's basically what I'm working on now, is like how much of my life and my interactions are based on sixth grade. And unfortunately, I think it's a lot.
Larry says when he was younger, some asshole kid threw dog shit on the slide as soon as he slid down. That's terrible. That's terrible.
Awful.
But, that which does not kill us makes us stronger. And all of the bullying that happens to you is all in good fun.
I remember just recently, going to a reunion, and then people were talking about another person that we had gone to school with, and it's like, and somebody said, well, yeah, no, I've talked to him. He really does not want to see any of us or talk to anybody. He doesn't have any positive memories of that time. And I was like, yeah, I totally understand that. I remember that was somebody who was, tortured more than I was, and it's like, yeah, I totally, yeah. And and everybody else was kind of like, I don't understand, why. I was like, no, that sounds right to me. It sounds perfectly reasonable to me, where it's like, why the hell would you go back and visit with people that tortured you, right?
Yeah. It's why it took me a long time to put Deerfield High School back on my I say I'm from Champaign because that's when my life stopped hurting.
That's when my life stopped hurting.
Yeah.
Ugh.
So anyway, okay. So that's my trip to Mexico. I feel.
See, a bot couldn't write that.
Yeah.
We went from your trip to Mexico to bullying in junior high school.
You can't call this like. So I mean,
can't make
I
up
understand.
this shit.
My sisters, like, or like yelling at me, like, people are just poking fun, and you just got to take it. and stuff like that. And meanwhile, it didn't
Okay,
feel like
popular
that.
girl.
Yeah, I know.
Thanks for that advice.
That's true. That's true.
Thank you, Queen Elizabeth. I'm
I
being
don't-
now. I'm being. I'm just.
Now you're being a bully.
I'm not being a bully. I'm just. It's because I do that too. I mean this. I say the same thing. It's like, oh, why don't you just do this? Why don't worry too much about it. And I'm trying to, especially with a younger, sensitive child.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I can't just say, oh, I went through that too, or it'll get better and everything like that. It's like, I totally understand. This is awful and it's upsetting, but just try to remember that you're a good person, and even if these people are not treating you nicely, that you can't let that become an excuse for you to
hurt other people.
Yeah,
yeah. I've heard you say that to Dow before.
Don't lose your, you've got empathy and you care, and don't lose that. Don't let that get squeezed out of you.
Yeah.
All the kids who, and you have no idea what anyone else is going through either. They could be in a really shitty situation.
Yeah, I think I've heard you talk to him about that type of stuff, and it's really,
I'm trying
really nice.
not to be a
good.
buck up completely, just like, just take it.
Yeah.
But I'm also trying not to.
They don't mean anything by it.
Yeah.
And it's because of you. It's because of how you're acting. That's why you're getting bullied. It's because if you acted differently, if you just didn't wear those clothes, you would not have been raped. It would have been fine. So it's the way you act.
That's
You're calling it upon yourself, the bullying. So you gotta. That's what I remember, like from high school. Like you gotta just go sit in the front of the bus and just show them who's boss, and then they'll like you. It's the way you're acting. It's bringing upon the bullying. You got to just let it, you want to dress like that, you're going to be raped, and you got to just let it just jizz off of you. And on that note,
yeah, we should
so
end
now
it there.
I'm done. No.
Oh, okay.
So let's move on. Do you like my earrings? Can you play the boob music?
Oh, see, I got to mark these because I don't know which
Here
one.
it comes. It doesn't matter.
God,
yeah, no, that's
you
good.
think
Leave
the
it.
light
Just
blue
leave it.
one.
Leave it. Because that's. That was a good transition. I like
Little
that.
DJ work there. Didn't quite have it.
I decided that I didn't get sick in Mexico because of all the radiation that I've had. That's what I decided, actually.
Yeah.
I got to see the oncologist, the real oncologist, not the nurse practitioner oncologist this time. So I knew it was like, ooh, I'm getting to see the big man. And the big man they took like 5 vials of blood out of my arm. And then they told me my numbers looked great. It wasn't even good. That's what he said, great. And I was like, what? So can you explain? He's like, you don't have the cancer right now. You're 2 years out and you don't have cancer right now. And I was like, I guess that's good. And he's like, no, it's great. He's like trying. And then he gave me a present. He had a giant box. Somebody had like one of his other patients, I guess, had donated a bunch of like tiny little like surprise boxes. So I got to reach in and pick something out, and these earrings are what I got out. And I love them. Like I would never buy earrings like this for myself.
It's like going to the dentist, right?
And getting like a sucker.
Pulling something out of the toy chest.
Yeah, it was so...
You wouldn't get candy at the dentist. You'd get a little trinket.
Right.
You should know that.
Yeah.
As the daughter of a dentist, right? The prize box.
Yeah, you get like a little finger torture thing or like an eraser, always an eraser.
I think
like
my dentist just had rings. I feel like it was always rings, or did I just always take a ring? I can't think of anything else in that box. It was like a treasure chest, but I think it was just rings.
So, and then then he likes to talk. He'll sit and talk for a while.
That's the thing I was saying, it's got to be such a stressful job, right? Talking to people about being an oncologist, right?
About their cancer, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I've talked about this a couple times. Is like being in that room with my dad and my mom and the oncologist. And I realized later she was explaining that it was over, kind of.
Yeah.
And she was crying. And I was like going on like, well, what's the next step? What are we supposed to do? Now like all this kind of stuff. And she's kind of teary eyed. And I was so blind to what was going on. I'm like, well, so then can we go into another trial? Are these other trials? And she's like totally like trying to explain and get through that it's this is it kind of thing. And I was completely clueless, like cognitive dissonance or whatever it was, and trying to understand later on, like having that perspective and like, wow, how can you even do that job, right? Where it's like, not only are you telling people, like we've done everything we can and it's we're done here, right? You're not going to have to come see me anymore. And then to have your fucking, this fucking kid standing there going, well, what's the next step? And having to deal with that too.
Well, good for you.
Well, no, but it's like that job has got to be so emotionally draining.
Yeah.
That to be able to sit there and talk to someone about good news has got to be, well, that's what it is, right?
Now I realize why he was in there. Yeah, because I'm used to a doctor coming in. Hey, looks good. See you later. Bye. Like, and they're like out the door while they're saying later. And he was just sitting there like wanting to talk.
Because you could imagine, like his previous appointment was the exact opposite conversation, right?
Yeah.
And so what do you do there? It's like, okay, so you've got to be able to somehow ride those highs and lows.
Yeah.
I mean, and to go through that every day and have that be your job, that's
worse than being a professor and trying to hunt students down. Hey, turn this paper in. God damn it. Yeah. How would you like to be an oncologist?
But the thing is that you can help too, though. That's the thing. That's kind of what it is. It's like, oh, I'm doing something that helps. I can help extend this person's life. I can help save this person's life.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Well, that's why I wanted to help him. So I was like, I know he likes to talk about himself and his experience and stuff. So I was like, asking him different questions about that. And, he's what a great oncologist this guy is. Just wonderful. Like he'll explain as much as you want to, and he gets fascinated by different things and, he draws boobs and stuff. I was talking to Jody about, and and I told him our thing, like how my coworker and I both have breast cancer and both had part of our boobs cut out, and we both run this program, Creative Technologies. So I told him, and he's like, oh, Jody. And I said, yeah, we have this joke. What's got 3 boobs and runs a program? And he like started laughing, and he's like, haha. And he goes, oh, wait, he does the calculation, and he goes, oh, and he really starts laughing then. It was cool.
Yeah.
And then I got these earrings.
And on top of it, you got some earrings.
Yeah.
All right.
So.
All right. I gotta run. This is great. Thanks, everybody. I gotta do some
It's the only
grading.
time we talk to each other.
I gotta do some grading, honestly.
Yeah.
We have to turn our grades in on Monday. This year, we got to turn our grades in Monday. Usually it's on a Tuesday. Got to turn it in on Monday. So I gotta get stuff done an extra day early.
I'm telling you, my winter session class where I'm teaching 16 weeks in 4 weeks starts tomorrow. And I haven't finished grading either. You should grade my stuff.
Nope.
Did you do your crossword today?
I have finished the crossword
okay,
today.
Well, good. At least you've got your
my
priorities
streak is
straight.
maintained.
What's your? You didn't talk about finals. We can talk about that next time.
I'm approaching a 2-year streak right now.
Oh, really? Of the New York Times crossword?
And so for the past week, it just repaired itself today, but for the past week, when I complete the puzzle, it turns blue and says complete. Congratulations. And blue means you finished it, but you haven't completed a streak, right? Blue is what happens if you miss a day. And it shows me the blue completed puzzle, and I freak out, and then I go to look at the overview and the statistics, and it says I've completed. It's yellow with a star on it, indicating that I have continued my streak. And so there's been a glitch for the past week where the first initial congratulations I get indicates that I've lost my streak, which makes me panic because I've lost my streak. And then, but just today, I finished my puzzle, and it was gold with a star again. So I'm back into at least that momentary reward is a streak and not panic. But I'm also really upset with myself because I've talked about it before on the podcast, is that I don't like being beholden to this streak. And so now
yeah.
I fell back into it, well, almost 2 years ago.
That's
right?
why I turned off my Duolingo like publicity thing or whatever that is, public persona.
Yeah.
Because I found myself like there's ways that, there's a way that you can learn, and then there's another way where you can get points.
So I started doing Duolingo, and now I've let Wordle go. So I can't have more than 2 things that have streaks. I've decided. In Wordle, I was like, you know what? It's been fun, Wordle, but how many 5-letter words are left?
Yeah. Plus, that's just luck. Well, it's not luck, but it is kind of luck. Whereas Duolingo, you're actually learning something.
Well, now Wordle has an editor, and so there have been some that are holiday, like there was a Thanksgiving related Wordle, like where you could kind of guess based on the day also, as opposed to just it being a random word. But that didn't bother me.
Yeah.
But what bothers me is spending so much time trying to think of 5-letter words.
Yeah, that's
And
Duolingo's good
that
because
was about a year, right?
there's-
Wordle lasted
yeah.
about a year, and now I'm done with it. I let it go.
Oh, you should tell people what language you're learning in Duolingo.
Espanol.
Yeah, which is really interesting because you're
Am I
not-
learning, or am I just playing a game disguised as learning?
No, you're learning. Our kid runs around speaking Russian. There's
Yeah,
only
well-
like about between 50 and 100 words that you need to learn from a language to be able to talk to people. People
Yeah,
don't
I
ever
don't-
say more than that.
I don't know if I can make it to that.
Are you a boy? Yo
See?
soy un hombre or home.
Boy?
How do you
Niño?
say? How do you say man?
Hombre.
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 Yo soy un hombre.
Yeah. No, but I kind of knew that already. That's the problem. Is
Good.
the stuff I know is kind of, or that's staying with me is stuff that's already with me.
What's the word of the day? Did you learn a word?
No, not today.
just
I think.
practicing?
Oh, I don't think I've done my Duolingo today.
Get to it.
Yeah.
Ola Ulua is saying hi. Hi,
Hello.
Ola Ulua.
Ola.
I wonder what you think of the cold, Ola. It was really cold today.
All right.
All right.
Yeah. it
Thank
was
you all
winter.
for listening.
Finally have winter.
Yeah, it is winter. No snow, though. Sim, elas são